Dirty Donald of Digby. A real piece of work, that guy. Legend has it that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and a penchant for troublemaking. As a young man, he would often frequent the local shop and steal biscuits, making sure to avoid detection by any means necessary. And don't even get me started on his flour pulling habits. He would go around town on his mobility scooter and yank them out of the ground without a second thought. Personal hygiene was never a top priority for Dirty Donald, and he could often be found in the pub, dribbling all over the bar and shouting obscenities at anyone who dared to approach him. His grumpy demeanour and tendency to use foul language meant that he had no friends and was generally avoided by everyone in the town. Despite his unpleasant behaviour, people put up with Dirty Donald because of his advanced age. They knew that he was a menace, but they couldn't bear the thought of causing any harm to such an old soul, so they tolerated his antics and let him do as he pleased. One day, Dirty Donald of Digby was visiting the local shop when he saw a robbery in progress. He sprang into action, chasing the robbers down the street with his trusty mobility scooter. The robbers were so surprised by the old man's determination that they dropped all the stolen goods and ran away. The locals were all impressed with Dirty Donald's bravery, and he basked in the glory for a few minutes, but then his eyes turned to the box of biscuits that the robbers had left behind. Dirty Donald's love for the biscuits was well known in the town, and he simply couldn't resist the temptation. He scooped up the box and sped off in his mobility scooter, cackling with delight. The shopkeeper was so grateful to Dirty Donald for stopping the robbery that he didn't even notice the biscuits were missing at first. But when he finally realised what had happened, he confronted Dirty Donald at the local pub. "Donald, you old rascal, did you steal my biscuits?" the shopkeeper demanded. Dirty Donald just grinned and said, "Well, you got to have a reward for bravery, don't you?" The shopkeeper couldn't help but laugh at the old man's antics. Even though he was a cantankerous old coot, Dirty Donald always managed to make people smile in his own weird way. Dirty Donald of Digby was infamous in the town for his cantankerous nature, and the local kids loved nothing more than to play pranks on him. They would knock at his door and run away, steal his mobility scooter and leave it in a different location, and even put signs up in his garden telling him to keep off the grass. But one day, Dirty Donald decided enough was enough. He'd had it with the constant pranks and decided it was time to teach those pesky kids a lesson. The next time the kids knocked on his door, Dirty Donald answered it with a big smile on his face. "Hello there, young lads," he exclaimed, his tone cheerful and friendly. The kids were taken aback by the sudden change in Dirty Donald's behaviour, but they played along. Over the next few days, Dirty Donald seemed to be a changed man. He would wave at the kids when they passed by his house, and even offer them biscuits and sweets. The kids were thrilled by the sudden change in their favourite target, and started to let their guard down, but it was all a ruse. One night, Dirty Donald waited until the kids gathered in the park for their usual hangout, and then he struck. He emerged from the shadows, wielding a water balloon launcher, and started pelting the kids with water balloons. The kids were caught off guard and quickly scattered, but Dirty Donald wasn't done yet. He chased after them, cackling with glee as he launched more water balloons at their retreating backsides. From that day on, the kids knew not to mess with Dirty Donald again. They may have won the battle of the pranks, but Dirty Donald had won the war. Oh, Dirty Donald of Digby, what a character he was. He loved that little budgie of his more than anything in the world, and he would always give it biscuits as a special treat. However, he didn't realise that the biscuits were causing harm to the bird's health. When the RSPB found out, they came to his house and took the bird away, and poor Donald was devastated. But you know what they say, when one bird is taken away, another flock is waiting to be fed, and that's exactly what happened with Dirty Donald. He could be found at the park feeding pigeons and crows instead, trying to make new feathered friends. He even started calling himself the Bird Whisperer, and wearing a cape made of bird feathers. It was quite a sight to see, let me tell you. Of course, we don't condone feeding inappropriate foods to wild birds, but you have to admit, the image of Dirty Donald in his bird feather cape is pretty funny.